favor?
Aye.
Okay, so moved. All right, good. So yeah, like I said, Tim wasn't here, so I, step in to do that. I tried to do a pretty good job.
Great job.
Thank you. Well, I followed Tim's model, and
Well,
so there you go.
Learning from the master.
Standing on the shoulders of giants.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So let's see. So one thing I did not send out an updated agenda, but I had heard from Eric that the folks from the Wilson's redevelopment project thing were supposed to be here, but then just like yesterday, they would want to go to the next month.
Okay.
So whatever. So it's down the road a little bit. And I meant to send you guys. There was like a PDF of like an elevation of what the outside of the building will look like.
Oh, really?
If you haven't seen it.
Are they gonna restore it back to the original facade?
Essentially, yeah. It's going
That'd
to
be awesome.
Take the tiles off.
Yep.
Wow.
be. Yep. I mean, and I think that's not to jump the gun a little bit, but yeah, that's where we would come in.
Yeah.
And I'm probably most of you guys are in favor of that.
It's a classic conundrum. What is historical? Is the
Yeah.
60s front or whenever that was put on there?
Sure.
Is that historical or is the
It
1895s, whatever it is?
I'm
I
absolutely
would
with you
vote
on
for the
that.
latter.
Yeah, well, me too, but I'm just saying.
No,
Yeah.
and because what happens is then we have like sort of I don't want to say whitewashing, but
Brick washing.
brick washing.
Like,
Yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly what it is.
Everyone's like bricks,
Power
bricks,
wash.
bricks.
Power
Yeah, and like people think, oh, bricks, it's classy.
Yeah.
Oh, old school. It's very historic. Like, well, I guess, but
Bricks and granite.
I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about it again, but
Yeah.
the treatment that they did to the Wilson storefront, which was probably what 1960.
Something. Look
If I had to
60s,
guess.
I don't know.
It's got it's iconic, and it's iconic for Greenfield, and millions of people, I'm sure,
Yeah.
have seen it
Well,
over the
that's
years.
true.
That's true.
And
But it still
anybody
looks
who
like
grew
a
up around
story.
this area and they passed through long before 91 existed.
Sure.
Right.
Wilson's what?
The issue is that it covers windows.
That's
And
the main.
That's
We
you're
made
trying
that
to
a functional
redevelop
reason.
space.
Well,
People want windows,
You can't
and
use that
that's what
space.
makes space
Absolutely.
valuable. Is
and that's
windows.
probably really
And,
good enough reason. They're
And
going
that's-
to
I'm
repurpose the building. They need the light. So
They need the windows.
Well, especially if
Yeah.
Greenfield's Market is going in on the bottom
Yeah.
floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
that's-
I
I
believe
believe
that-
the residences up above.
Yeah,
So
they
Yeah.
are. The
Yeah,
windows
so
are all there.
they need
Yeah.
the windows.
They're there.
Yeah.
They're
Well,
just
that makes
covered
sense.
by that
Yeah.
grading.
That's
So
right.
they could do something.
Well, that being said, though, hypothetically, they could have a little bit of a tip of the hat to what that facade looks like now. They could still have the windows, and they could still have some. I mean, in theory, if
If
people
we really
wanted to
knew it
do
was
that.
underneath it, but yeah.
Yeah, well, right. I mean, there is that. I mean,
In what condition?
I'm not a architect or a structural engineer or something, but I think that most of that stuff was hung. It's like those sheets of metal, like with the Rooney's building. They were just kind of
Yeah.
hung on top.
Yeah.
But then again,
Brackets. Yeah.
yeah, some kind of brackets,
Yeah.
and I think that it probably would come off.
Yeah, I
People
read
would-
that everything was just put on
People
top
would
of
be
it.
awesomely impressed about it, probably.
I see that a couple of letters of the sign are gone.
Yeah,
They're like, somebody took those out for some reason.
they might sell them. I don't know.
Yeah.
Check
eBay.
Maybe you took them
Yep. No.
out in your shed.
Yep.
No.
Yep. If they were my initials,
Peter would have.
Hey.
Peter would have.
Peter would have them in his bedroom.
R.I.P. That's okay. So anyway, well, I'm sure that will come back around, but for sure,
April.
Tip of the hat to Pete.
That's right. That's right.
we'll be talking about it again. And
Yeah.
but basically, yeah, the plan, the one elevation I saw showed it completely removed.
Right.
So you would never know.
Yeah.
If you were like a traveler
Yeah.
in time, and then you were like, oh, and you're like, where is this place?
Yeah.
And you would have no way to know where it was.
Sure.
But anyway, so they're back there. Old business. I guess we might as well. I gave you guys this little handout thingy. Mostly I gave it to you because they were left over from the meeting, and they were gonna toss them, and I said, "Ooh, I can bring them to my meeting,
Great.
and it makes me look impressive." So we had a public hearing last week, where there were some people online and then some people present, and they gave feedback and input. It was really just kind of that type of a thing. There was not a lot of dialogue. There's some people had some questions about the functionality, how does the CPC work, and that kind of thing. There was a tremendous support for the pickleball.
Yeah.
And
That's crazy. I read through
tremendous
the
support.
grants, some were really good.
yeah, I mean, I think that I would say that all of the grants had merit.
Yeah.
Or the applications have merit.
Yeah.
And what the difficult thing is we have $335,000 in
Right.
total
And
to spread out.
you got 900. almost
Three
But
times
it's
that.
but it
And
is
as you can
a
see,
it's a revolving
Yep.
fund that
Yeah.
continues to
Yeah.
accrue. So
yeah, and then
You don't get it
it's
this year.
it's not exactly.
Right.
and then the other part is too is like do you want to drain the bank account every year, or would it be prudent to say let's keep a few bucks in there so
Yeah.
we kind of grow it up a little bit.
Sure.
So that there's that too, but obviously the pickleball you can see there is $300,000. By itself.
Yeah, all by
In
itself.
total.
Yeah.
And so we don't know if the town, if maybe the town would put some money in and maybe we would match it. You can't, hey Margo, you can't discount all the support, at least by the folks there. Of course, it's in Abercrombie Field, which is kind of like, kind of remote, kids aren't gonna really ride their bike there probably, kind of thing.
No,
So-
they do it in the tennis courts in Brattleboro. I don't know why they couldn't do tennis courts.
Well, I think that's a really good point, and it's absolutely a point that came up.
Yeah.
And like essentially pickleball, not to
Yeah,
discount
the
it, is a
town
little bit like,
provides
it's like a little
the
miniature
little
version of,
deck, and they've done the courts over the tennis courts, so the tennis courts are still there, and they
Yeah.
have the pickleball courts. Yeah, I vote for that.
No,
Because I think spreading
No,
the
there is. I have
money
a stack of
around
them.
is a
Oh,
good
great.
yeah, they were left over from the meeting, this is where I was,
Oh, okay.
so I'm just kind of sharing. Yeah, so anyway, but I will say that it was funny because we sent out like a survey or something online. The majority of people who responded to the survey online, that was support for the fairgrounds project.
Right, which has merit just because of the historical nature.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit like, well, you have multiple opportunities or avenues for folks to give input and feedback and whatnot. So, the people that supported the pickleball were the kind of people that maybe that came in person,
Yeah.
literally wearing pickleball costumes,
Right.
actually.
Yeah, I know.
So,
So what's
Start
this?
a GoFundMe page.
What's this Highland Park signage? What's that about?
ooh, well, that's kind. There's a kind of a. Obviously, it's the signage that you could imagine that you're kind of picturing, because they want new signage, better signage. I think that the town wanted to put those little markers out, but it's kind of like
What kind of markers? What are you talking about? I don't know.
for emergency response markers, like GPS location markers.
GPS
So if I've fallen and I
coordinates.
can't get up, they can locate me with a GPS marker.
There are grants for trail signage and things like
Yeah.
that.
But I know that.
I know that
pretty
you
well.
are very familiar with.
I am very
all
familiar
of
with
those
that. I'm
things.
just
And
trying
I
to
know
figure
that's
out
why
what
you're asking.
extra signage you need.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I
you go
think
around
that
the trails and the trails are blazed.
yeah,
They're
totally.
blazed. I know because I blaze them, so I know
And
they're
if
blazed.
you have a cell phone, you just.
Yeah.
It's the
And
emergency.
if you when you look at these, there's
Interesting.
the Boaz Trail restoration is up at Highland. The Highland Pond aerator is at Highland.
Yeah.
Highland Park drinking fountain is at Highland.
Yeah.
Highland Park signage is at Highland.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you look at it and say, well, I guess Highland Park is an important place to people.
What's
That's
this,
one way to look at it.
What's this trail restoration, Boaz? Did that put snakes on the trails?
No, I personally I really like that one because I feel like the guy did a lot of leg work, and it's going to be like AmeriCorps volunteers are going to come in. There's some of the trails are like eroded and they're
Yeah.
unsafe.
Which trails? What are you talking about?
I don't know specifically, but I will.
Well, that's a little lower.
But they're
than
slides and stuff, and so what I would say, Tim, and to all you guys, is to go on there and to look at those applications,
Okay,
because you
well,
can see them all, and
Okay.
they're fleshed out in pretty good detail.
I don't wanna take up this time.
Yeah, we don't want to take up
Is
time.
there a draft order of preference?
For these,
Yeah.
we reviewed them in the order that they came in,
Right.
and then there was like a pre-application, and then there
Yeah.
was like further application, and then we kind of moved down the line like that. And so the vote will be in March.
But I thought there was already a pre-sorting. No?
I mean, there was a pre-sorting, whether the pre-applications, whether they become like,
Yeah, I remember, right.
they'd be
but-
given sort of the green light to proceed, or given feedback to say, we recommend this, or, that kind of stuff. Then this was an event where there was opportunity for folks to come out and give feedback and input about what they thought about the projects. And like I said, from my notes at the meeting, almost everybody was there about the pickleball. Somebody was there for the bocce. Somebody was there in support of the safe bikeways. And somebody was in support for
There's grants for
the CSO.
a lot of those.
Yeah.
Bike routes, there's the Safe Routes to School and,
Yeah, and it's yeah, right. So like, anyway,
tell them
without
to
taking up
contact
too
me,
much
and I
time.
So
can
there
turn
isn't
them
a
on.
draft order, your committee will decide in March. They won't put a feeler order out, they'll just decide.
Yeah, we will present these to the city council. Okay.
Which is the bocce?
Do you make your preference before you do that? You make recommendations
Yeah.
to the city council
Yeah.
about what you think should be
Yep.
funded.
So we're kind of doing what we're sort of doing now. Is we're saying,
Yeah.
well, what about, did they do this? Or we're kind of
Yeah.
hashing it out a little bit,
Sure,
and kind of, because as you can see, there's 14 projects and 10 of them
A lot
are
of
for
them.
recreation,
Right.
Yes, that's
and a
right.
lot of them
I
are
think
Highland
there's
Park. And a
lots
lot
of
them
money
sure.
in that,
Seems-
so.
So which one
So,
is the
but
bocce?
our three,
Bocce is at Beacon Field.
Beacon
That's that ball thingy in the sand.
Field.
Yeah, it's an Italian thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
So-
popular
so
in
the
Boston
three-
when I went to school
Yeah.
there.
Popular in my backyard.
Oh, yeah.
Recreation
Okay.
site amenities, I mean, I'm not sure.
Yeah. So I would say, Tim, do
I will look at it.
do some looking at
I
it.
will.
Like I said, I'm really just
I'll
as
answer
our
all my
representative, I'm here.
Okay.
I just have to say, I think your process has been amazing for an all-volunteer committee
Thank
and
you, yeah.
this whole thing and the efforts that you put into it, because I'm really impressed.
Thanks. Yeah,
The grant writer that,
it's hard and
grant
it's
review is a hard
complicated,
thing, yeah.
and things can be projects very often can be put into one category or another or multiple categories.
Right.
And I think obviously
You have
one
to
of the
weigh everything.
I think one of the biggest things with this is that almost all of these are town properties, and almost all of these have to go through the recreation department, the Department of Public Works. That's why the water fountain costs $100,000 or something like that. It's so even though a private citizen might say, hey, I want to do this, you can't do it. You got to go through the town. So the town would have to say, yeah, we want to do that, but we don't have the money. Let's work together on that, or something to that
I
effect.
think there may be some other potentials,
But this is our first time around, and I think that it's everybody's gonna get a lot out of the experience, and hopefully the projects that get awarded will have at least my hope is that they'll have a really positive impact for the majority of folks in town. That people will go and be able to do this stuff and see this stuff and that kind of thing. Like for example, Highland Park is a place that people come from out of town. You're like, hey, let's go. It's a gem in the town. Almost everybody that you talk to strolls there, walks their dogs there, does whatever there. People go there all the time.
Yeah.
And it's a really great place.
lives
Everybody's
around the block on Spring Terrace for
Yeah.
15.
There, and then on up. Past-
yeah, and
past
so
the
everybody
tower,
agrees
down
that
along.
it's one thing to say. Some folks come out of town. Hey, where's a good place to go for a little hike?
Yeah.
But you don't want them to go there and twist their ankle. That would be kind of uncool. Well, you don't take care of it at all. It's just there.
Right.
There's that half, at least
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah,
Margot, question?
So the historic ones are the barn rehab.
Yep.
FCAS, barn rehab, Historical Society document preservation.
Yep.
And the Scott's shop equipment.
Yeah.
So those add up to what? Let's see, 80 plus 15, 95. So we're over what we're guaranteed to be allotted.
Yeah, correct.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so each category can only get a certain amount, and obviously, yeah,
Ours
there's
was
not.
43 or something.
Yeah.
Like that. So I mean, is it possible that you can fund partial?
Partial. Yeah, I think that's probably, and that's where we're at now, is saying, like, even like with the pickleball, it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's a ton of money. Obviously, we're not going to fund it, but we might say, well, geez, if the town's going to put in 50 grand, maybe we could put 50 grand in and match it. And they might say, we don't want to do that, or they say, well, what am I going to build? One of them? I don't know. We have to.
Right.
We'd have to kind of push that down further, but yeah, I think that's the idea, is to say, if people really want to do this, we could partially fund it, and they can, hopefully that encourage them to either find the other money or get it started and then come back next year.
Or
So like
down
we
the
have
tennis court,
Correct, yeah,
you know,
yeah,
think of another angle.
yeah, but please go and look at those things and get
Yeah.
involved and
Yeah, no,
because the
that makes
presentations are pretty good, and the people come there and they talk about why it's important, and they kind of explain it and hash it out.
But we can't fill out the form anymore. We missed that window.
No, that was the 28th.
Right.
Yeah,
And
so
no more meetings, no more
no,
feedback meetings.
no, but you could go March 9th, 5:30 at City Hall and via Zoom. So we'll meet and discuss the projects, and if you want to make public comment, so if Tim, for example, if you want to go home and crunch it out and show up at the meeting either virtually or in person and say whatever you have to say or want to say, I think that would be definitely appreciated. That's the whole point, is that everybody has an opportunity to weigh in on this thing. It's our money.
We're guaranteed 43,000.
Yes, correct.
worth of historic projects. So that's
in the
exciting.
bucket.
That's really great.
It is exciting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway,
Okay.
so it's good, and it's getting exciting now because we're kind of like really kind of getting to it. Because we really had to deal with a lot of like functional, like how do we do this and what's the thing of that, Anyway.
John, will there be more money in subsequent years?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
At the same level?
About.
Roughly?
Yeah, roughly.
Every year.
Every
It
year.
was on your tax bill.
1%.
Yeah, 1% over $100,000.
It was on your tax bill.
So, I was just reading about the potential of Aldi's coming to town just
Yes.
before I came here,
Yeah.
and so that would put a couple drops in the bucket. as it were.
Late unlamented candlelight will count.
Yeah, not lamented by me. Really.
Not by me.
But I mean,
I had to spend several weeks there when I first came to town.
There you go.
I'm telling you, I don't lament its passing.
Okay.
That was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago, and it never got any better.
Right.
With you.
I mean, I thought that was exciting anyway. But
Yeah.
Nevertheless, old business. I
Is
got.
Athena under old business or new business?
I was here in January about this
Yeah.
same matter.
The same letter,
So yeah,
roughly.
I will just share.
Different than the other one.
Well,
I did go look at the rug building, by the
That's
way, as I was mentioning, I was hoping to. I got an opportunity from the owner to go in, and I hooked up with Ed Gregory, and he took like 100. Ed Gregory, if you don't know, is like kind of the Peter Miller with the camera kind of guy. Really, really thorough and a real asset. And he made like 150 at least photographs. Tip to tip. We went through that place, and it was very, very cool. Very, very cool. Anyway, but it's probably next week or so they're going to start taking it down. So, and it was in rough shape.
We didn't approve it. It wasn't official when it came, so it's now official.
Well, they came here. They came here and did a presentation, right? If you guys remember, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
that's the meeting I was here for.
Yeah.
To demolish it and turn it into storage.
Correct,
Yeah.
right. And so, you know, we hashed it out with them, and at that point, we determined that we weren't gonna put a demolition delay on it.
Yeah.
So, which is tantamount to us saying, okay.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and I think that, given the condition of it, which is horrid, even by my,
And you agree with that after having walked through it?
Yeah. I mean, put it this way, you know those big galvanized tubs that cattle feed out of?
Mm-hmm.
There's like dozens of those around there to catch the rainwater. And then the guy, this is the previous owner.
On the
And-
interior.
On the, like right here. There's a, you know, and those things are like 5,500 gallons and with a sump pump in it. So that's what the guy did like apparently for years. So the rainwater's coming in, filling these giant barrels and then being pumped out. No maintenance.
Yeah, and
And-
rotting the wood above it at the same time, you know.
Yes,
Right, the
so-
wood, the roof is
and I mean, I have some
Yeah.
ice pictures that I took, whatever,
Yeah.
but where there's holes, because there's these big skylight sections, which are very cool, and they're like caving in.
Yeah.
And there's whole sections where it's just, you know, whatever, but anyway, so structurally unsound, and it's gonna bring money back into the town, and, you know, I think most people would be like, that's a wicked eyesore.
Yeah.
You know, so it is what it is, but, it was cool at least to document it, I think, for what it's worth.
What will I do with those pictures?
He will give them back to us, and they will become part of our archive and go onto our website.
Okay.
Yeah, which is kind of cool.
Are they gonna make they had said that they could do a marker?
And they're gonna do
you
a marker,
know,
yep.
with a picture of what it originally was?
Yeah, and
Or something.
right, thank you.
Right.
The new owner, Jim Boyle, is in contact with one of the longtime employees of Rug Manufacturing,
Okay.
and who's filled in a lot of information for him and whatnot. And I think down the road, once we get closer to actually doing that, the site's all cleaned up.
I think Sue Peck moved out of town. She and her husband ran that. And I think she's left town a few years ago. I don't know I'm not sure where she is now.
Mm. So, anyway, so Athena, sorry, I'll give you the floor. You wanna?
Oh, okay, so I was here in January and presented a brief for a grant proposal, and we are moving forward to it. It's for the Massachusetts Preservation Project Fund to do a conceptual feasibility study on the Levitt Hubby House now that the library is moving out. And so the letter you have in front of you basically synopsizes the importance of the Levitt Hubby House, and it's based on all my research. A lot of it came from the National Historic nomination for the Levitt Hubby House and some other historical documents that I have. And so it will get us, we'll put in for probably $20,000 to $25,000. It's a matching grant, so the city would come up with the other money, probably out of the mayor's discretionary funds, for a total project of about $40,000 to $45,000 to $50,000. And it would get us hire a consultant to do this conceptual study that would go and do a comprehensive conditions and needs assessment, which we have some of that information from Mark Snow, our buildings inspector guy, but it could really use a deep dive so that, and then the consultant would then come up with a sort of an options layout of what potential that the building could be used for if it's to stay in the public domain, because that would trigger some ADA requirements as well, so we would have them to look at that. Or if it's to be put out to public bid, which could happen anyway, then it could also include that kind of stuff. So basically to assess where it is and where we have the potential to go for it so that we don't lose the building. And the project would start in sometime this summer, like August probably, and then would have to be completed by the end of June 24.
2024.
Yes. And so Margot's been reviewing some of the stuff that I've written. I've almost done with the document because Amir's going to be out of pocket and I need her to sign a bunch of the forms. So I have the document, which I could forward to you and you can send around if you want the actual application.
Yep.
And Margot and I took a bunch of pictures because I have to submit all kinds of photos of the current condition of the Levitt Hubby House.
Cool. All right. What do you need from us, anything?
Just his signature and just approval of the letter that I passed around and the concept and the signature.
Move to approve John
Second.
signing the letter.
Margot.
Any
Thank you very
discussion?
I think it's a very nice letter.
Thank you.
Yeah.
He's a very good researcher.
Yeah. I'm convinced.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I look forward to writing more grants with you all. Hopefully
There we
we'll
go.
hear from about the survey one soon.
No, oh, we
Yeah.
will.
That's right, yeah. That,
Sometime soon, yeah, March, because they
March.
vote on,
Great.
well, you're here actually, yeah. So we should hear this month,
good,
Great.
yes.
so,
All in favor?
I
thank you,
Okay, so moved.
awesome.
Thank you,
Love
Anita, for
coming
all your work.
to you soon.
Thank
Take a
you.
bit.
John John.
Yeah.
Put your John.
Dave, you have a blue pen?
Mhm.
Time to
Are you
see.
sure? Is it black or is it blue?
Whatever that color is.
Look,
Sarah
kind of blue. Just
Black blue.
They got midnight blue.
Blue black. Does it have to be blue?
I got
She said. She
I
said.
got for
Oh,
sure
yeah, blue, I have a blue, oh, you got a blue, oh, excellent.
You know, we just took a
Thank you for
quiz today.
remembering,
Has to
And
be
it-
blue?
it- Which color? has
to
to be
show that it's
black like
original,
that.
yeah.
Oh, that it's original?
Yeah,
really.
yeah, like the mayor always has to sign all the forms and
Funny, we
everything.
used to never be able to use blue because
Yeah.
the cameras wouldn't pick it up.
It wouldn't copy well.
Wouldn't
Right.
copy.
Yeah, now it's the
the other
opposite,
way,
because
yeah.
everybody can sign electronically. and
Sure.
You can't tell, but
Sure.
if, yeah, it's blue, you can tell.
Interesting.
And the way the MHC tends to work is nothing goes online. Everything is copy, originals, and mail.
Sorry,
kind of
if you want to see that,
old-fashioned,
see
It's
that.
really annoying, let me tell you.
Yeah.
It is. As a
Oh,
matter
you
of
pass that out too?
No, but I have only. That's just a CPC thing. That's the
Yeah.
breakdown per
Yeah.
per thing. It's kind of a little bit redundant.
Obligation is like-
So long,
you.
thanks.
So what?
Thanks, Athena.
I know.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well,
Thanks,
there,
Yep.
Athena.
thank
Watch
you.
the weather.
You contact,
Over and
see
out.
ya.
Right.
Um,
All right.
okay. What else? Anything else?
Had a couple of things.
New business.
Oh, yes. Go ahead.
Well, I see that from the minutes that you talked about the Peter Miller.
I knew you were going to say
And
that.
Mark Zacchio, you had mentioned that name.
Yes.
And I assume then that the rationale would be to prevent historical buildings from being demolished by finding uses for them and bringing them up to code and so forth, as opposed to maintaining their historical appearance and so forth. Because he hadn't really done that, but he's done the other thing in spades. So I'm absolutely in favor of that, but it would have to be worded that way, I would think, if we did that. Because he's got quite a record of taking, like the school and the mix and match and those other places where that he's gone.
Yeah.
But I mean, they aren't in the look like they used to look necessarily.
No.
But they're still in good shape and they're preserved and they're not being torn down to put storage units,
Yes.
so to speak.
Yes.
If I could use that example.
Yep.
Good
Yeah.
example. Too soon.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So I'm all in favor of that. If you want to go forward with that, I mean, what's everybody else think? I mean, he sort of stands out. He and Jody Harrell. I mean,
He really sticks out, and,
Yeah.
and I think that I think like you say, he did. It's not like, think of it like an old car or something. You don't like restore it to like factory original,
yeah,
right?
No,
It's a modified custom,
That's
if
right.
you will.
Yeah.
But the brick is there, the
Yeah.
look is there. It feels very historic,
Sure.
and
he
definitely.
takes that old Model A and he spiffs it all up and he puts a V8 in it.
Correct. Just brakes.
Well,
Brand new
it's
V8.
economical
Yeah, headers,
to run, yeah.
pours it out.
Yeah,
You know, yeah, and no, and I think that he did that without, kind of on his own. I think that he came to town with that and has done that and has a track record for that.
Yeah. The only thing I would say about that is I think his wife should be included in that.
Okay.
You guys know about that? Because I think they're truly partners.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think I think to be fair,
Okay.
it ought to include both of them. Because I think she's been an equal partner from day one, back from when they started with the old library
Absolutely.
building and went from that on to the other things
Mhm.
they've done. That's my impression, and you probably know more about it than I do.
I don't actually.
No?
I know she manages things.
I think they were definitely partners.
Yeah.
And I think she still manages.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So make it Mark and Barbara.
Well, you could. I would ask them about it
Sure.
before we.
Yeah.
Well, that's
You
good.
know,
Send
like
it to
good point.
say
Press
a
release.
proposal. We're thinking of doing
Sure.
this.
Sure.
You know, and just
I can reach out to Mark.
check in with them.
Yeah, that's
It's in the
good idea,
context
yeah.
of them
Yeah.
accepting the award.
But I think you definitely,
That's a good-
there's
that's a good-
buildings in this town that would have been torn down
Sure.
or
Yeah.
would have fallen into disrepair.
Yep.
I'm thinking mix and match,
Mhm.
probably would.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I mean, back in the day, the mix and match, we fondly called the mix and match building, was really kind of crappy.
Yeah.
And there was nothing, and it could be easily torn down and forgotten about.
Nobody would notice.
And
Yeah.
and really took and polished the heck out of
Oh,
it.
shoot. And it's a zero energy building. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just really did everything really well.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So. And I think that also, so I can reach out to him.
Yeah.
And get a conversation, and he already said that he would come and talk to us.
Yeah.
Now that he has the reporter building,
Yes, that's
So
the
this
next
means-
project. Yeah.
a great opportunity to say,
Yeah.
by the way,
And by the way, we're going
Yeah.
to give you
Okay.
for your good work. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds great.
Okay. So I'll reach out to him,
Yeah.
get some information, and then we'll kind of. Do you want us to draft something up?
I will draft something.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
next month.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tim.
The ethical training.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's supposed to have done this.
Oh,
Yep.
I don't
If you
think I
haven't
did
done it,
that.
you should do it because the town is getting, the city's getting restive about it. They were
Yeah.
kind of,
Yeah.
their tone was kind of like,
Finished mine tomorrow, yes,
yeah.
It said they
2 days ago.
They said within the last year. They said if you did it last year, you didn't need to, but it wasn't clear what you needed to provide to them. I'll find out.
Oh, okay. Good.
Yeah.
It's been some years
But I
since
did
I
do
did
it
this
last
last
year.
time.
I did do it last year.
Okay,
so
maybe
for
you
sure.
don't need to do it again then.
Yeah, you're supposed to do it every year.
Every
Yeah,
year
that's what
or
I thought.
every other
Right.
year.
Don't know.
Um,
Just thought I'd mention that.
Yeah, thank you for reminding us.
Yeah.
I would mention too that Matt has been appointed.
Oh,
Yes.
excellent.
Yay,
Congratulations.
welcome.
All right.
Yep. But has yet to be sworn in, which is why he's silent.
Yeah.
So,
Do you have been told about all the different things you have to do, right?
That was a hazing process.
I've
yeah.
got a list
I
here
do.
somewhere.
I do know about the ethics thing. I have 30 days.
No, I-
international
no, I've got a
law.
list
Oh,
of
that's
several
a whole,
pages.
whole other
Yeah.
list.
Yeah.
That's a separate list.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I
It's not too
did.
bad.
I
We
did
can't
make-
show you the list. 'cause
Yeah.
They revamped the test.
Yeah, I did make an appointment to get sworn in, so that's happening
Good.
Thursday the 9th.
Yeah.
Good.
2
Nice.
o'clock.
Great.
So
Good.
Oh,
that's
Good.
wonderful.
So we really appreciate you on the
Yes.
commission in advance.
Yes.
Your attendance has been stellar
Yeah.
so far, so that's good.
Yeah.
And and I will say too that I always like for commissioners to kind of take on a little something.
Yeah.
No pressure. But if you find something that you want to
Yeah.
kind of follow after, whether it's an old building, I always thought it would be kind of a cool thing to, we've got like this yellow house on the corner. What was that? I heard that was a school or something at some point. Maybe do a little bit of research on it, and I think it would be super cool if we as an organization took the lead on
Mhm.
researching some of the buildings around town
Yeah.
before they become derelict and they're
Sure.
ready to be torn down, and that way people are like, what? I didn't know that was there, or
Yeah.
like they met there during the Shays
Yeah.
Rebellion. What? You know,
Well,
like,
especially
bring some of this
if
stuff
we
up.
could add it to this survey, which
Yeah.
missed some. I mean, I don't
Right.
think the Lions house is in the survey, is it?
In the House of Lions. In the
One,
front.
yeah,
That's the Grout brother.
that's the Lyons house
I think it
after it's
is.
the Grout Brothers. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that house is next door to me, so
First
I was-
gasoline engine.
but I don't think it's in the survey, so that's one that should be.
Yeah, I definitely have a couple of places around town that I have
Yeah.
in mind. Then
Yeah.
if that's something, you know.
Yeah.
something
And, you know, whatever, you know, I guess it's just, yeah, it could be that, or it could just be like a little bit of districts, and we talked about
Yeah.
doing signage. Remember, we spent a lot of time talking
Yeah.
about having like
Yeah.
QR codes and interpretive signage around town, so folks, like for example, like a historical walking tour.
Yeah.
And there's sort of one out there, but how cool would it be to like take some of these sort of buildings that, if you ride your bike and you walk around town, you're like, that's a cool. I
Yeah.
wonder what that was, like the
I wonder
Lions.
what that was. Yeah, Lions. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, and that's something that I've had in mind even for the plant on Sanderson Street. And that's something that I've talked to the plant manager there before about.
Yeah.
Is like,
Yeah.
you know, hey, like
Oh,
even
that's-
like get it on the register of National Historic Places,
Sure.
like, you know, GTD plant number
The
2 or
history of
or
that
what-
plant is amazing.
or well, you know, Wells
Yeah.
Brothers before that, because you know,
Sure.
same thing. I'm sure a ton of people drive by there and they, you know, they see this giant, colossal brick building
Sure.
and wonder, you know, what is that? You know,
Is it
Wow.
true they had an anti-aircraft?
Yep.
Battery? I think they did.
What did they say?
They'll
to
never
protect that during the war.
going on.
I mean, there was a photograph of.
no.
Yeah.
There is a photograph.
There was a photograph.
Yeah.
Kind of a famous.
It
movie.
limits a little bit, but they can
Yeah, like a 90
do
millimeter.
not very much, but a little bit.
A little bit.
There's
Well,
a picture
I don't know.
I mean, they've already kind of
Wasn't there,
messed up the windows.
up
I don't know,
that
but
building
if
got made,
give it a whirl.
Yeah,
it's right
give it
behind
another
the
shot.
HCC.
Yeah.
You know, they used it for the old GCC, and it's right.
Yeah, it was
right by the-
Threadwell
right by
Threadwell.
the-
back
yeah,
during
it was
the war.
right by the train
Threadwell.
tracks there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was another tap and die building.
Yeah.
And and you know that's right across the street from him. He goes right there.
Yeah.
That's one of the oldest industrial buildings still
Oh,
around
yeah.
town.
Right.
It goes way
I
back.
that. I bought that too.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know,
It's
so.
being ruined.
Well, yeah.
Well, they're doing something with it.
Yeah, well, you know,
That
right,
was-
there you
that was
go.
my thought. I'm like, you know,
Yeah.
whatever they're doing there, whether or not you agree.
It was empty for a long
with
time.
it, yeah,
Yeah.
it's better than it being empty and
Yeah.
people breaking windows with glass bottles and rocks and stuff like that. You know.
That's true.
Yeah.
I wish they'd use the whole building because
The rest of it is pretty empty.
The rest
right?
of it is
derelict.
pretty empty and derelict.
Yeah, and that's my thing because that's gonna happen. Oh, good segue there. So you know the old former private library of Greenfield, the one across the street from the Y?
yes,
Sure.
okay,
Has anybody noticed that like the ratchet straps holding the building together?
Yeah. But Zacchio owned that, you know.
I
And
know.
he gave up on it because they
But he
couldn't
sold-
figure out what to do with it.
Yeah, well, he sold it, but
Yeah. Yeah, it's.
whoever the heck owns it, I mean,
I don't know who sold it to.
Pierre owns it.
The problem with that
Yeah.
place is
He lives on Highland Avenue. His name's Pierre.
Oh, Pierre owns it?
Mm-hmm.
And he's just not taking care of it?
It's a musical studio.
Music
it
studio.
looks
Oh.
derelict to
That's
me
not a bad
Yeah.
use
and
of it.
unsafe
Yes.
to me.
the problem with it was
For
that they
years.
built the back of it for
years.
stacks, and the area, the part of because remember the Arts Council used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the stack area is so built in such a way that you'd almost have to demolish the entire building to change that configuration. At least that's the way I understood it.
Well,
Yeah.
You know, this is the thing is that's why I'm bringing it up because it's there now.
Yeah.
It's in pretty bad shape. When you've got ratchet straps holding the exterior of the building together.
Yeah.
Like that's messed up.
Yeah, right.
So that's someone's gonna issue a demolition permit for that.
That's right.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's right.
No?
You would wanna put a
Well,
delay on it.
That's what I'm
Sure.
saying. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
but the thing
You
is,
should get ahead of it.
you
Yeah.
should get ahead of it,
Absolutely.
which is exactly my point.
Yeah.
Is I
Well,
don't.
if Pierre owns it, he's got,
Well, it's Ray. I mean, somebody's paying.
he's,
Whatever.
he used to, anyway.
Anyway, so I
Couple-
would like to reach out to them about that.
Good.
Anyway.
The common pamphlet. If you remember, after that pamphlet was printed, I think that Bob put some copies into Barrett Baker's,
Mm-hmm.
and I put some into World Eye. And the deal was that they could just sell them and keep the money, but we wanted to distribute. So I checked with World Eye the other day. They sold a few. They still have some on the shelf.
Hmm.
But just so everybody's kind of aware of what's going on with that, we had discussed printing more. But the question that would be up to this commission to whether that we decided we wanted to print more or not. We have a very limited number of printed copies, and they haven't been sold all. It just is sitting on the shelf, and I'm sure most people look at it and say, "What the hell's that?" and go on about their business. They have no idea. But you know, something to keep in the back of our mind as to whether we want to do more of that with that or just leave it as it is. I think it's online, I believe.
It is,
right?
Yes.
So maybe that's as far as we want to go with it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But just so you do know that it did go into a couple of places to be sold. And I haven't checked with Barrett Baker to see whether they sold theirs or not.
I can ask them.
Yeah, might ask him when you. Yeah. And I had one more thing, and that comes from my Battlefield group.
Yeah.
And this is pretty interesting, and I don't have all of the details yet, and I'll give them to you at the next meeting. But basically, let's see how. Okay, so they're proceeding on their next phase, which is the final phase of their investigative archaeology on the Battlefield site. And for you guys, I'm talking about the Falls fight, where Captain Turner was killed and this guy made this attack at the Falls. And the subsequent battle ranged through White Oak Swamp. And there was a pursuit through there of warriors chasing colonists who were fleeing back to Hadley, and a number of them were caught and killed in there. There was a number of warriors killed as well. And so there's a bunch of bodies in that swamp buried in different places. There were also people buried in the big sand pit that was owned by Mackett. And the very sketchy information I have, and I am waiting to get the rest of the information, which I will share with you. But the sketchy information is that there was a number of human remains that were found while they were excavating the sand pit. At some point, they were gathered together and buried
Oh, dang.
unceremoniously in a hole somewhere in that property.
Wow. And
there's an affidavit to that effect,
wow.
and I'm waiting for the receipt of that affidavit. The Abenaki and other Wampanoag and other tribes want to have those disinterred and reburied in a proper fashion, and even to the point of taking a section of that area and making it into an official cemetery. And that's something that has been asked. The property adjacent to Stop and Shop, which is Swamp, which is part of that swamp, is owned by the company that was going to build the Walmart there. They still own that property, and they promised to give that property, but they never did.
Right.
They still have it. They were going to sell it for $1 because it can't be built on.
The triangular piece.
Yes, and it's swamp.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
To the south.
wetlands,
Yeah.
and you can't build on it. And the ideal they were going to transfer it over so it could be used. They have never fulfilled that promise yet.
And I heard the mayor's ask them again.
That's what I wanted to bring up, was that during this discussion, it came up that this group, this Battlefield group, had been talking to the mayor, asking her to try to lean. And I said, well, would it be of any help if the commission asked the mayor as well to, put her foot to the pedal and move this thing along? And they agreed that it would probably be a good thing. So the question would be whether we wanted to get involved in that, whether we wanted to put whatever pressure that we have on the mayor to go ahead and move that thing off dead center where it's been sitting for 15 years or more, and try to get some resolution of that situation. As far as the burial is concerned, I will share that with you when I get actual real information on it. I only have anecdotal stuff, so I don't really have anything I can present to you. But that's aside from the thing about the swamp, the ownership of the swamp. Now, the swamp is gonna be part of the swamp is gonna be part of this extended battlefield designation, okay? But exactly how much of it, they don't know quite yet, because they're still working on that archaeological examination. As I said, they have one more phase of that to do, and they're gonna try to lay out the outlines, the boundary of what this battlefield might be. And they have a lot of artifacts, and they have a lot of evidence and so forth that they've collected. And we know that there's 14, 16 colonists who were buried in that swamp as well. After the battle, or what was left of them. And it was very brutal. That whole battle, that running battle, was really brutal.
So let me just ask, so the swamp is like, it's across the street from Stop and Shop?
Yeah.
And kind of, what like
Runs
there's
up
that,
to Cherry Run.
yes.
Yeah.
And it kind of runs sort of, say, parallel to Route 2.
That's
right?
right.
You
Well,
can
I
kind
think
of
it's
see
the
it.
part that if you're going west and you go onto High Street, I mean, it's still 2A.
Yeah.
Then it's that batch, that land.
That's
that
the section of
triangular-
it. That's the section of it.
Yeah,
But
like
the
I'm
swamp
thinking like
itself
Long
runs over
Ave.
to Cherry.
Is it Long Avenue or no? What's the one that runs by Denny's, from Denny's?
Long Avenue.
Is it Long Avenue?
No,
it's not.
No.
It's the one
No,
next to
it's
that.
Meadow.
Meadow or
Wildwood?
Wildwood.
Yeah, and that goes from
Yeah.
Denny's
Yeah.
all the way over towards Vassar's Plow.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
from there over
That's
is
right.
nothing, and that's that swamp, because
That's
Route
the
2
swamp.
runs sort of parallel and it bends like this.
That's the
And
swamp.
French
right.
King Highway comes in and meets it,
Right.
because that's where clearly is a swamp, and,
Yeah.
and behind where there's a pet care place,
Yeah.
Oh,
you
yeah.
can see like it's
Right
kind of
down
swampy.
there.
There's
Yeah,
well, it's like to be a trail going up in
That's
there.
right. But the section that's involved with the Walmart is just that triangle you're talking about. But the swamp itself is a larger area
Yeah.
than that.
Yeah.
And goes back in there, and there's nothing in there because you can't really do anything with it. It really is a swamp.
Yeah.
But apparently, in the aftermath of the immediate attack, the battle at the falls, the colonists fell back or ran away through that area, back through Greenfield, and it went all the way up along, and that running battle went all the way up, towards Hadley. I mean, it was quite a long, drawn-out affair because they lost their discipline and got
Yeah.
separated and so
Yeah.
forth. And but at any rate, so I thought I would bring up whether we wanted to do an intervention, so to speak, a letter or a discussion or something with
Yeah.
the mayor to say, yes, we are interested in that, bringing that thing to some kind of a close. And then the second part about the burial, I will bring more information when I find it out, when I get it. in the
Okay.
hands.
Yeah.
I'd be in favor of us writing letters. I mean,
I
this
think
should
a
be,
letter is the right way to go.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
with the proposition is that they should give or sell for a penny
Yeah.
that land to one of these native organizations.
That's right. Friends of the
Yeah.
Wissahickon or whoever it is, I forget which one of the groups it is, but yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. That,
Probably-
that I think is a great idea.
yeah.
right.
And get
Who's
that
gonna
back.
write the letter? Are you gonna write the letter and
I could do that.
John will sign it?
I'll
Yeah.
do is I'll get somebody from that group to write it, and then I'll
Yeah.
pass it on, because they would know more about it than I would.
Yeah, totally.
Great.
Is this project you're working on the one that's funded by the Park Service?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
it's
saw
National
that
Park
there's
Service.
a talk about that.
It's a
coming
multiple year
There is a
project.
Huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
National
At the
Park
Great
Service.
Falls.
up. On no, there's a talk. I just saw it in my email today on the March 11th
Yeah.
at 5 p.m.
It's John Williams or John, what's his name? And, yeah, the historian.
Somebody on this
Yeah.
project.
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Talk
He
about
just did a talk
Where?
at Northfield. They have several more that are coming up.
Oh.
They're doing it as part of the Deerfield 300th, or
Oh.
250th, or 350th, or whatever it is. Yeah.
uh-huh.
I think it's
So there's a series of talks, and that's
it's one of the churches in town. I
In
can't
Deerfield
remember.
or here?
No, in Greenfield.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
I like how it bridges, early settler history
Yeah.
and
Yeah, we got
Native
the
history.
4 towns historical commissions from 4 towns, then we also have 4 tribes that are
Yeah,
represented.
Oh,
So that's a really good way to do this.
yeah.
And each one of those tribes has at least one representative that's on the committee.
Cool, well, thanks, Tim. That's good. Do you have anything else? No. I don't have anything else.
Well, yeah, you do. Wilson's?
Oh, no, did you miss that part?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's
I'm
okay.
so sorry I was late.
No, it's totally good. We waited a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Right, that's enough. Wilson's folks put it back another month, so they didn't come today, so they're tentatively on the agenda for next month. I got an
Do you
email.
think I need to recuse myself?
I would say yes.
I'm not on the payroll anymore.
Of what?
Yeah.
Jones Whitsitt, they're one of the architects.
I mean, there's not really a decision before us.
No, but
So
it,
what? I
Well,
don't.
you could. The best
You're not
advice.
involved with the firm, so I don't.
No, I mean,
I mean, I would say the best
Associate
advice would be to
with the
reach
firm.
out to the state
yeah,
ethics commission and ask them beforehand.
yes.
Beforehand, what they what they recommend.
Okay,
Yeah, that's my official advice. You know, and
the
that
state
goes
ethics, not the local.
state. You know, yeah, the state. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I wondered about it. I mean,
yeah,
very
and I
interesting.
can get the number to you.
Okay,
And,
great.
and it's easy enough. You have a conversation, and they give you the best advice. So that way you feel
What's
like
the name of the? I can't talk to
yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I'll send it to you.
her. Great.
Um,
It's likely I do have to recuse myself.
you know,
It'll be
and
next
But
week.
then what decision is there? There's not a decision.
no, there's not a
there?
decision.
Better
Yeah,
say,
so
sorry.
yeah, but if any commission finds themselves talking about a project, for example, that you might be involved in or have a stake in some kind of way, that you feel that you might need some
Personally profit from?
well, or
I don't know, I
otherwise,
guess.
right,
Yeah.
Otherwise,
exactly.
benefit.
I'm just I'm a shop teacher, dude.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
But really, it is a good question, Dave. What are they coming for?
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
we have authority to approve it or not?
I don't think so.
It's not a local district. It's not a local
well, we don't
historic
know.
district.
We don't know.
It's
I mean,
just,
I don't know yet. So
It's designated historic.
Yeah.
So they have to get they're using state and federal funding, so they have to get mass historic approval.
yeah.
And
So
mass
right, once
will
that
ask
happens, that's us. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
So
the thing
do-
you were talking about is King Philip's War in Your Backyard.
There you go.
It's
yeah.
On March 11th at 5 at the Trinitarian Church in Northfield.
Oh, it's in Northfield.
Yeah. Well, it's part of their.
War in your backyard.
Yeah,
That's
it was
neat.
the
David Brule, he's the chair of this battlefield commission.
yeah.
Oh. Is he a good talker?
I think he probably is. I feel,
Great.
Okay. That's it for me.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. 5:56.
Great.